Okay guys, today we are going to talk about intake manifold, exhaust manifold, cylinder head, intake valve, exhaust valve. I am going to explain the procedure to remove the valves, to disassemble the head, and the procedure to repair the head. And this is the first project. Okay, head. Today we are going to talk about the head. Danny is coming with a head. I want to show a couple of things about the head. Okay, this is the great example. In one side, intake manifold. In the other side, exhaust manifold. Mr. Lopez, why this exhaust manifold is different like this? Here, Danny. Oh, here. Intake valves, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust.
Which one's bigger, the exhaust?
Which one?
Exhaust.
Why?
Because it expands.
Because the gases are expanded,
It'd be hot.
no? And when you remove the valve, you see in the bottom of the valve, in the bottom of the valve, in the intake valve, where the engine have a lot of miles, you found that carbon deposits. No? In the intake valve, not in the exhaust. In the exhaust, you have like a smoke, graphite powder, but this is not carbon deposit. Carbon deposits are accumulated in the intake valves. Carbon deposits are good? No. Where is coming those carbon deposits?
Fuel.
Bad quality of the fuel. You remember I explained the procedure to produce a diesel? And in the United States it's good, but in other countries, a lot of carbon, a lot of sulfur, a lot of phosphorus, that's not good. Those deposits are accumulated like a sediment and clogged the fuel system. In the intake valves, in the intake valves, the carbon deposits are accumulated here. And what happens if you have excessive amount of carbon deposit here? What happens when the valve tries to close? Not close. What happens if one of the valves, intake or exhaust, don't close properly? Excuse me? No compression. When the piston is going up, compress? No, because you have a leak. In diesel is catastrophic, no compression? Yes. Because no explosion. In gasoline, okay, the compression is low, but because the spark, you have explosion. That's the main difference. In diesel, you don't have explosion. You don't have a spark, sorry.
I have a silly question. What is that?
This is the valve.
Okay,
This is this valve.
Yeah. Just a bigger version. Yeah. Just a bigger version.
This is to check the people that no homework. Okay, that's the valve. Now we are going to talk about the valves, and we are going with Danny to disassemble the valve of this head, and we are going to explain the procedure to remove the valve. Yeah, I have here. Yeah, I have. Okay, but I was talking about why this exhaust manifold, marine manifold, is a little different in comparison with this automotive. This is automotive. This is the same manifold for this engine. When this engine is in a tractor or in a car, use this manifold. And when this engine is marine, is with this manifold. What is the main difference? Look, in this one, in automotive, you only have the exhaust gases going out and bye-bye. No? In marine, you have the exhaust manifold here. You look, exhaust gases, bye-bye. And you have on top this element. What is this? The heat exchanger. Why? They are separated. The heat exchanger is a piece of metal in the middle. Excuse me? Sorry?
Oh, it's like not working.
Ay, Dios mío. Ay, thank you. Yeah, mucho corona. Hi guys. Sorry. This is the class of exhaust manifold, intake manifold, and heads, cylinder heads. And we are going to check right now the difference between the automotive exhaust manifold and the marine exhaust manifold integrated with the heat exchanger. Look, the heat exchanger on top is separated from the exhaust manifold. It's not together. You have a piece of metal in the middle. You have basically the heat exchanger and the exhaust manifold touching one with the other one, but no mixed. This is important. Let me explain why. I want that you keep clear this concept. The heat exchanger is touching the exhaust manifold. Why? To reduce the temperature of the exhaust manifold. If you are in the engine room, a small engine room, and you touch this, it's hot, but it's not, it's warm. But what happens if you don't have the heat exchanger touching the exhaust manifold? What happens when you touch this one? Oh, no, Papa. It's critical, no? In gasoline engines, instead of this, you have the exhaust manifold and here the riser.
Which is this
That one. Yeah? And in the next class with Dr. Rodriguez, you will learn the difference between that riser and this one. But it's basically the same. Okay? Great?
What is that? Can you like?
Yeah,
This is for gasoline engine.
Okay.
Gasoline.
But like, where? What is it like?
Oh, that one?
That's the dump off. You have the manifold just like this.
And the riser on top.
See, the water flows differently than on the gasoline. It actually has water passages within the risers and manifolds. And,
Okay.
and like I said, when we get the gasoline, we'll go more in depth on that because that's a critical point.
Can you come here 1 minute to the other building? You bring with the camera, please. Come on, 1 second. Okay. Look, this is the typical gasoline engine, automotive engine. This is the engine that you have in your car. And from the thermostat housing, one hose with coolant enter in the radiator, and in the bottom the other one return through the coolant pump. And the coolant circulate in the engine, cool the engine, and when the coolant is too hot, return into the radiator. In the radiator you have an electric fan in front. The temperature of the coolant reduced, and once again the coolant enter in the block and circulate again, and once again, and once again. Yeah? This is your car. In your boat, you don't have radiator and you don't have fan. Instead of the radiator, this hose and this hose are connected here and here. The coolant circulate here and the raw water in the middle. Yeah? I have raw water here. This is the C-cock. The raw water enter here. The pipes, the straight pipes, the raw water goes out, exhaust pipe, and bye-bye. And the coolant enter here, circulate here in a different pipe, and return into the block. I replace in my boat this radiator with the fan for this heat exchanger with raw water. That's the main difference in the cooling system of an automotive engine and the cooling system of a marine engine. Is this, the integration of this. Okay, in your boat, the heat exchanger and the exhaust manifold are pretty close. The gases of the exhaust manifold goes here and are mixed with the raw water in one point. Let's go and we check in the other engine where are mixed. Exactly, that one. Look at this. Yeah, this is other heat exchanger. In this particular is two heat exchangers together. One for motor oil, and other one for transmission oil, and other one for fuel, and other one for, yeah? You can integrate 5 heat exchangers with the same path of raw water.
They normally call those coolers. The heat exchanger is like the one the main for the engine, but for like cooling oil, we call it coolers, oil coolers or fluid coolers.
Yeah, you have fuel cooler, motor oil cooler, transmission oil cooler, but all of them are heat exchangers.
They are technically oil.
Heat exchanger.
Are those, you see those often on engines, or is it just like
Every engine, every Mercruiser has an oil cooler. One for power steering, one for oil. Depending on if you have a transmission, you have transmission coolers.
Right now we are going to talk about that. Let's go to the other picture. Okay, look at this. This is a marine. This is a marine exhaust manifold, exhaust gases. The gases go here and go here. Clear?
Yep.
And the heat exchanger on top. Raw water enter here. The raw water is mixed here with the gases. And in this point you have gases mixed with raw water. Once again, look. Exhaust gases here, and raw water. Look, salt water enter here, and the salt water goes out here and enter here. In this point, salt water and gases are mixed, and bye-bye. Excuse me, 1 second. Look, here you have the raw water, the a.c.r, and the raw water pump. Suction the raw water and enter here. The raw water goes here. The raw water goes here and mixes with the gases, and bye-bye. Yes or no? Yes. Excuse me. In this example, the salt water enter in the engine? No, the salt water only circulate in this element. What is the name of this element? The heat exchanger. The salt water don't touch the block. The salt water don't touch the oil. Don't touch the piston, nothing. No?
If it doesn't touch it, it's called a closed cooling system.
Oh yeah. But that's other that we are going to explain later. But in general, the majority of the engines have this system. Okay. All right. In what point is possible that the gases be mixed with salt water? Only in this point, where the salt water is mixed with gases. Yes or not?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to repeat an explanation that I have in millions of episodes and videos. Is how the salt water can enter in the combustion chamber and destroy the engine. Pay attention. If you have a little amount of humidity, moisture, in the moment of the explosion in the combustion chamber, what happened? A little amount of humidity. What happened in the moment of the explosion? A little. Coolant or fresh water.
Oh.
What happened?
Vapor.
You have vapor. You have white smoke.
Oh, wow.
You have vapor. White smoke. If it's coolant or if it's fresh water. If it's salt water, what happened? Lock. The expansion of the aluminum is twice in comparison with the expansion of the iron of the cylinder, and lock the piston and destroy the engine. When salt water enter in the combustion chamber, finito. Okay, if coolant enter in the combustion chamber, the engine continue running with a lot of white smoke. It's coolant. The engine lose power, performance, but the engine is not locked. No, Danny? That's critical. This is...
You just can't compress water, so when it gets in the combustion chamber, And diesel, for diesel, is definitely catastrophic. Gasoline, you can still somewhat salvage. But the diesel, is just because the compression ratio is so much, it's like
Exactly.
6 times more than what the gasoline is. It's unforgiving. Usually it'll bend the rod, crack the piston. So the gasoline, you can pretty much save it. We only compression on a diesel is 600 psi's, and ours is about 200, depending on the model.
Okay, I am going to explain later. Yeah?
Just so I have a little bit confusion. So this is heat exchanger just for the exhaust gases, not for the
No,
cooling
that heat
system,
exchanger
right?
is not for the exhaust gas. That heat exchanger is to cool the coolant. Look, here is the radiator cap. This is
Oh,
coolant.
okay, okay.
Coolant.
Mhm,
This is for coolant.
mhm.
The body of
Yeah,
that
but
heat
that
exchanger
takes some-
is touching this one.
Okay, see.
Of course, the temperature of this metal will be reduced.
No,
It's
no.
only for that purpose, not to touch the gases.
Mhm.
Okay,
Understood.
look. Lopez, but if the gases are mixed with the raw water here, this is not possible that the gases enter in the engine. It's possible?
Yeah.
Look, you have gases here at high pressure, and you have raw water here. It's possible that those gases penetrate the engine and enter in the combustion chamber?
The exhaust valves are open.
Okay, pay attention. You remember yesterday intake, compression, power, and exhaust? All right, we are going to refresh quickly. During the intake, which valve is open? Intake, intake, that one. Fill the cylinder with air. After that, both valves
Close.
compress, explode, and after that, open exhaust and bye-bye. No? That's the cycle. Okay. Look, you remember in diesel engines, what is the secret for a good diesel engine? Good compression, no? For that reason, the diesel engine, the piston, they have 3 compression rings on top and 1 other oil controller ring in the bottom. A lot of compression rings in order to produce good compression. How much is the suction pressure in a diesel engine when the piston is going down? It's a little? It's a lot. It's a lot of negative pressure. Okay, pay attention. During the intake, only the intake valve should be open. What happens if, for some reasons, the exhaust valve during the intake stay open? For example, the exhaust valve of this cylinder, the last one. What happens if this exhaust valve is open a little? What happens during the cranking? During the cranking, the exhaust gases here with raw water here, and this piston going down with the exhaust valve open. Suction this water and water enter and finito. My friend, later I am going to explain other 2 possibilities for salt water entering in the combustion chamber. This is the number 1, and this is possible only during the cranking. My friend, if your engine, marine engine, no start in the first one, don't try to continue crank, because it's possible that you suction salt water. For that reason, the tune-up in the marine engine should be perfect. It's clear? It's clear why it's possible that this salt water here enter in the combustion chamber?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible, no? For that reason, in diesel engines, keep the valves calibrated is a job part of the service. Each 250 hours, the diesel engines, the valves should be calibrated. The gap in between the valve and the rocker arm should be calibrated. Danny and me, we are going to explain the procedure to calibrate the valve. It's simple, and we are going to do in the project that calibration. It's according with the service manual. Okay, until this point is clear?
Yeah.
Questions? Questions?
So the timing is for the valve opening and closing.
Yeah,
On gas, the timing is also for
All the same.
it's exactly the same.
But for what about the timing as well affects like the distributor?
Yeah, well, the distributor. Okay. So when we go to the gasoline, I'll go more involved just to give you a rundown. The timing. This has to be set perfect first before you can put the distributor. And then the distributor will go in and it'll set once you have it set at the number 1, and then you have to set it at the timing. I don't want to go too into that. That's more on the gasoline side, but just to get an idea, yes, the distributor for gasoline only. Want me to bring it?
Yeah, I want to show. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Until this point is clear,
Yes.
the explanation? My friend, if you understand the basic, the fundamentals, after that the diagnosis is too simple. You ask to the customer 5, 6 questions and you know where is the problem. Because if you understand internally what happens,
That engine right there has the elbow to that, because that one's going to be below the water line.
okay, pay attention. For that reason, when you install a marine engine, generator or engine, what is the most important questions before you try to install the engine in the engine room?
Water line.
Where is located the water line? Where is located the water line? And what is the point in the engine that you need of reference to identify if the engine is over the water line or below the water line? You see that line? And you see that line where the water is mixed with the gases, that point? Okay, you need to verify if this line is below the water line or over. If this line is below the water line, what means? That your engine is considered below the water line. And you need to be careful with this. This is raw water. And if the engine is over the water line, I can connect this one pretty close and a small hose here. If the engine is below the water line, you need here what? Go here, this is the water line, 12 inches over the water line and return. Anti-siphon. Here is the anti-siphon. Here in this point, in between the output of the heat exchanger and the output of the exhaust manifold. In between both outputs, you have the anti-siphon device only if the engine is installed below the water line. How much over the water line? 12 inches according with ABYC. Nice, no? With this elbow, I protect that the water enter here.
How would you install that hose to the water line? With a.c.r? You just attach a little hose there?
That one?
No, how do you know? Because I remember you said one time you
Oh.
install like a little hose so you can see the water line in your boat.
Okay. How I know if I am inside of the engine room, where is located the water line inside of the engine room? How can you identify, how can you mark with a Sharpie? You mark over there, okay, the water line will be here. One simple technique, explain to me. You are in the engine room and you need mark in the walls of the engine room, the mark, the line of the water line. Because you need to install in the future engines, generators, air conditioning equipment, water makers, all of them, you need to verify if they are below or over the water line. How you identify where is located the water line inside of the engine room? Mr. Lopez, I have my phone and my lady is outside. Hi, mommy, it's no, Mickey Mouse. Okay, you have a lot of through holes in the boat. You install in any of those through holes a clear hose, transparent, clear hose. And you open the valve and you see where is the level of water. It's here. I mark. This is the level of water. Okay? Good?
Oh, that's just temporary then, right? You replace where, like...
In any through hole, you install a clear hose, transparent. You open the valve and the water goes until this point. This is the level of the water line. Ding, ding. And you mark with a pencil. Right? Good?
Yep.
Okay. The water line, that's critical. Okay, my friends. Okay, we have here the head, the intake port, and the exhaust port. Oh, in the intake port, if I remove the intake manifold, I see the port and I see the valve moving in front of each port. You know? The intake valve here is that one, is that one, is that one, is that one. The ports of the exhaust manifold, in front of each port, I have the exhaust valve, exhaust valve, exhaust valve, exhaust valve. Okay, good? And you see the valve. You see this stand of the valve moving up and down. Intake valves and exhaust valves. All right. This engine is considered naturally aspirated or charged. Naturally, because I have the filter and the air enter here in the intake manifold with atmospheric pressure. This engine is considered naturally aspirated. Wow. Excuse me, 1 second, please, my friends, follow me. This engine is naturally aspirated because here I only have the air filter and I have the atmospheric pressure entering here. I have this turbo. Mr. Lopez, I want to convert this engine in turbocharged. Okay? This is the turbo. Install the turbo. Where is located the turbo? Excuse me? After the air filter, the turbo here? In between?
Yes.
No. Look, this element works with exhaust gases. The exhaust gases move this turbine, and the other turbine in the other side suction air here and send the air high compressed here. I need bolted this one where?
Exhaust.
Here! Ha! I am going to convert this engine naturally aspirated. I remove the elbow of the exhaust. And now I am going to install here my turbocharger.
And now it's riced out.
Okay, look. Okay, now, guys, look at this. The air filter is located here, and the air at high pressure enter here in the carburetor. This engine right now is considered turbocharged. Where is located the turbo? In the exhaust. I install up.
Where the water
Danny, come on.
Do we know how much more water?
Have a-
It disappeared.
Traje uno solo.
Ven.
¿Lo viste? Solamente traje uno.
Sí.
Traje uno que tenía el uno grande.
But I gave away one of the shit to
lo tenía al revés.
can't just get fucking screwed by the thing.
Aguanta ahí.
That's bad. Hey, that's
Presentarlo.
Hey, watch the back. I feel like I'm sliding. I watch it in the car, but I don't like going too easy. Because it's either you're paying $500 for a ticket to be close, or you're 300 section all the way in the sky and you can't see shit. You know, not to mention basketball probably has good.
Okay, guys, look. And now Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No problem. Look, guys. The turbo. The gases spin the turbine. And in the other side, what happened? Air filter, compress the air, and the air enter in the intake manifold at high pressure. And what happened with the gases after the gases spin the turbine? The gases enter here and bye-bye. And this is the new elbow. And this one is for
The water.
for the connection of the raw water between this point and this point.
Alright, let's supercharge.
You understand?
I get it now.
I know that it's better when you see what happened. Okay, but this one is located here. Okay? And this is the new elbow of the exhaust because I have turbo. When I don't have turbo, I remove the turbo and I install this one. That's correct? And the engine is naturally aspirated.
Making no power.
Nice, no?
That's sick.
Ah, that's the turbo. Thank you.
That's what I was looking for. I didn't know where was that.
All right, guys. Good. Don't forget, what is the point of reference?
Yeah. Oh,
The water line with this elbow.
Yes.
Oh, if the engine is turbo, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. This line, where the raw water coming here, enter here, and gases.
Sick.
Good, no?
Mr. Lucas, just clarification. On the other side, when we have air coming in, it's gonna
That's
be...
the air filter.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah.
Look, the air filter is located here. Enter the air with atmospheric pressure. The air is compressed
To
and
the
send it
intake.
here.
Alright. Understand.
Okay. Okay, guys, come here. Before here, come on. It's true. Look at this engine. Can you bring the camera, the top camera? Oh, thank you.
He's got it.
Okay, guys, look. Look at this. Exhaust manifold, exhaust manifold, exhaust manifold, exhaust manifold, exhaust gases. What happened with the gases? Enter here in the turbo.
That's a big one.
Spin the turbo. And the rest of gases goes out.
Overboard.
Okay, excuse me. And this one on top is heat exchanger. What is this? Coolant. You enter the coolant here. Coolant, 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 coolant. And look at this. Raw water, enter. Raw water, and raw water with gases, bye-bye. Good or not?
Is that the reservoir for the coolant?
No, this is the radiator cap or pressure cap. And the reservoir, you see that small hose? That small hose enter in the plastic reservoir here. And the plastic reservoir is in the wall of the engine room.
Just like in your car, you have a little reservoir
The
beside
plastic reservoir that Danny said is in the engine room, in the wall.
Does each engine have a certain amount of water that needs to be pumped through it to keep it at a certain temperature? Like, is there
What water?
minimum for the raw water? Is there a minimum?
The coolant?
amount? Yeah, for the pump. Like, is there?
No.
It's all
Coolant,
Okay.
coolant is only inside of the block
No,
and the
I
engine.
know. Yeah. But
And salt water is only for heat
yeah,
exchanger.
Yeah. But is there a minimum amount that needs to be cycled
Oh
through?
yeah, I am going to explain later.
A certain pressure.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the heat exchanger.
Right.
But this is later. I want that every day you understand better the engine.
Yeah.
Question in this installation, before we continue, the other side. This engine is turbo?
Yeah.
If this, I know engines like this, no turbocharged. That one is turbocharged, and this one not turbocharged. But it's the same engine. It's this one. It's this. Look, if this one is not turbocharged, what happened here? You don't have this, and you have what?
Elbow.
The elbow. Oh, I can remove this turbo and the engine runs?
Yeah.
Yes, no problem. Of course, with less horsepower, but it's running.
It's not less power.
Less power, but the engine is running.
So why ever have something that's not?
Really, at the sea level, you don't need the turbo. Really, you need the turbo when the motor is in a truck working in high altitudes to compensate the less amount of oxygen. But in boats, the people use the turbo because they need
We're gonna bring that 50-foot hatters out of the water quick.
yeah. My friend, in the United States, we designed the cars and engines with excessive amount of power.
Spoiled, just like power. Just water.
And the answer is no, because I have the money. What is the problem? Put 3 turbos, Mr. Lopez. Okay. 3 turbos. No, Danny, you don't need that. You see those boats, Choli, the Chinese boat.
Oh, yeah.
Choli.
Choli is Chinese boat. But those boats are nice. It's 67 feet with only one small diesel engine like this in the center.
Yeah, it runs off the socket.
What's it built for though?
At least you think it runs off the socket.
What's it built for?
Sandbar?
Huh?
Really,
Sandbar?
Sandbar?
no, really, for example, you see a Sea Ray 36 feet with 2 big inboard. You don't need that amount of power. For that boat, no. For that boat, you with a single engine is enough.
Yeah. Single engine with a lot of beer.
Yeah, and a lot of. How much is the money? I remember I was working in the summer some years ago in a Tortola in Virgin Island in a mega yacht with 3 inboard Detroit diesels, huge engines. Oh, similar to that one. And they have a flow meter in the fuel tank to check the amount of fuel that is consuming in each engine. And you see in liters, 250, 249, 48.7, 46, in liters per second, going down with the engine running.
5 gallons a minute.
Yeah, and I imagine the pocket of the opener. That's too much power. It's not necessary. Okay, go to the other side. Oh yeah. Look at this engine with 2 turbos. Now I show to you. But that engine have 2 turbos. We are going to study the other class.
Yeah, I've been dying to get into that one.
Hay que hacerlo. Okay, guys, come on, here, quickly. Oh, Danny. Socket. Okay. Guys, and now in the other side, that side is considered the hot side because it's gases, hot gases. Spin the turbine, this turbine. All the turbos in the hot side, this turbine, normally dark color. And in the cold side, that turbine in a special aluminum alloy. You see? Okay, this is the turbine in this side. And this is the turbine in the hot side. Everybody follow me? Look, when the gases enter here at high speed, what happened with this turbine? It's spinning at high speed. And what happened here? You suction air, and the air is compressed and sent it with high pressure into the intake manifold. Simple. This is the turbo. And this engine is considered naturally aspirated. Oh, if I decide no more turbo in this engine, I remove those bolts, I remove this pipe, and now the engine is naturally aspirated.
So that pipe is only for turbo?
Excuse me?
That pipe is only there
Oh,
for
of
turbo?
course. If not, I install here other bracket with an air filter, like this, in the other engine. If not, I install that pipe, and the pipe enter over there. Good, my friends?
Mr. Lopez, question. But when you do this manipulation, when you take off the turbo and put it back turbos, do you do any setup settings on the computer?
Yeah, I'm going to explain that.
That's crazy.
the decision about what I prefer or not depend of a lot of considerations. And in some cases you need a tune-up and modifications on the camshaft. Now I am going to explain that. But this particular engine is a rocket. You can run that engine without turbo or with turbo. It's a nice engine. This is a John Deere. You found that I removed this engine from the taxi boat, the yellow one. I removed 2 generators and we replaced for a new 2 engines. Okay, this is the head, and those are the valves, and right now we are going to see the valves opening and closing.